Today, we are looking at influencer and affiliate marketing. I'm covering them in this course because they are a part of the digital marketing umbrella, so to speak, and therefore they're important for you to know. But this is the only lesson on influencer marketing in this course, as we are focusing on more performance marketing channels. You'll get a good introduction to affiliate marketing today, and we will be covering it in further detail in lesson 2 of module 3. Okay, so today we are looking at the factors of an influencer. Then we will move on to looking at measuring the value of influencers. Then influencer research and campaigns. And finally, affiliate marketing, what it is and how it works in this lesson. So what is influencer marketing? It is a form of social media marketing involving endorsements and product placements from an individual or organization who has a strong following and or social influence in their respective fields. Now we're going to break that down a bit more, or quite a lot more. To answer what makes someone an influencer, it's easier to start with what doesn't. I'm guessing that for a lot of you, when you think of influencer marketing, you think of celebrities with millions of followers who are paid millions of dollars to promote different products. Yes, some of these are influencers in the performance sense of the word, in that they contribute a lot of sales to the brands that they promote. But you don't have to be at that level of celebrity to be seen as an influencer. Perhaps initially, the amount of followers someone has carried more weight than it does now. But quantity doesn't mean quality. Popularity and influence are not the same thing. An influencer creates a change in thinking or behavior. If we just look at the number of followers of an account, then the most popular account on Instagram is Instagram. Obviously, the official Instagram account would not want to position itself as an influencer in the marketing sense, as in being paid by brands to promote things. They won't or shouldn't take payment from that, but they do post images from different Instagram accounts, including influencers. I would definitely recommend following this account for inspiration, as Instagram uses it to demonstrate its features and share a wide range of gorgeous visuals. Instagram is synonymous with influencer marketing. It is by far the platform that creates the most engagement between accounts and their followers. As I said just now, influencers affect the decisions and opinions of other people. They are often seen as industry experts. They use social media and other channels to maintain a personal connection, meaning that their communication is authentic and they engage with their followers. And this, of course, contributes to building a rapport with their followers. They've taken time to build up their following and are therefore quite protective over it. To build up trust with their followers, they've been strategic about what they share and who they are seen to partner with. Just like in any business, any damage to their reputation on such public channels can be irreparable. There are 3 core factors of a successful influencer, and we'll go through each one in more detail. Successful influencers have reach. They also have contextual credibility and salesmanship. While there is a social media metric called reach, which, as the name suggests, tells you how many people your posts have reached, reach here refers to the ability to deliver a message to a large amount of people. The audience that an influencer reaches could be through various channels. For example, the readership of a publication, a blog, a magazine, or a book, etc. Of course, there are both online and offline versions of this. It could be someone who hosts a program, so a host audience, either, let's say, a podcast, a radio channel, etc. And of course, social followers, which is what most of us think about when we hear influencer marketing. More on reach just now, but the next factor is contextual credibility. Contextual credibility is referring to trust given by the audience, based on the influencer's knowledge and expertise on a topic. If we go through a few simple examples, if you look at the image on the right, these are completely made up scenarios, but a brand promoting that their products aren't tested on animals wouldn't approach a fashion blogger who wears fur, for example. A student sharing content around her degree wouldn't appeal to a brand selling parenting books. And neither would a financial trader who posts updates on stocks and currencies. He wouldn't fit a retailer selling outdoor or adventure wear for men. So while these made-up examples would have credibility within their field or industry, if paired with the wrong brand, it won't work. Or to be kinder, it won't work nearly as well as it could. Some people seem to have a natural ability to convince other people to see their point of view. Others spend a lot of time working on their image and how they present themselves. The communication style of a good influencer is clear, it's authentic and confident. Tying it back to the psychology of sales we covered a few lessons ago, they radiate authority. It is natural for brands to want to control the way the message about their product or service is communicated. But in the case of influencer marketing, some of this control needs to be relinquished. The influencer knows how to speak to their audience and needs to be given the creative freedom to do so when working with a brand. There are, of course, risks around this, which we'll look at just now. But for the campaign to be most effective, the influencer needs to be consistent with their own brand as well. Sounding like a completely different person, or worse, far too salesy, could have a negative impact on what they've also spent a lot of time building. Now, I believe that this is one of the most important things you need to remember in today's lesson, that reach is important, but it is not enough on its own. If an influencer has low reach, but high credibility and good salesmanship, they might be referred to as a nano or a micro influencer. Now, I just mentioned nano and micro influencers. There are 4 categories of influencer based on their number of followers. They've been segmented this way as analysis has shown different categories to be more or less effective for different objectives, just like any other marketing tactic. Segmentation, really, in a different form. So the relatively new coined term for someone with less than 1,000 followers is a nano influencer. Nano influencers often hold influence in their local community or area, and engagement rates are highest here. They are often a source of user-generated content, which can be amplified by the brand's marketing efforts. But relying on nano influencers for a campaign where you want a lot of reach or awareness is very time consuming, as you'd need quite a pool of them to give you enough volume. And of course, managing all these relationships would take the most time. Then we have micro influencers, and they have between 1,000 and 100,000 followers. That's quite a jump. But these influencers have been found to produce the best results, as there's a good balance between reach and engagement. And they've mostly focused on a specific niche or industry, so their follower demographics and interests are quite consistent. Micro-influencers, for the most part, also don't charge nearly as much than their so-called bigger counterparts. That would be a macro-influencer, and they have between 100,000 and 1 million followers. And here is where we see engagement rates drop hugely. Due to the volume of followers, it is natural for there to be a broad range of demographics and behaviors. And they are potentially awesome for so-called meaningful awareness. They're not too huge yet. That's when we get to mega influencers. The Kylie Jenners, Cristiano Ronaldo's, and Selena Gomez's of the world. They have more than 1 million followers and are most likely to be A or B list celebrities, whatever that means. They're only really suitable for mass awareness in terms of performance, is, what I'm talking about. So top of the funnel objectives, awareness and branding. And it's incredibly expensive. Kylie Jenner charges $1 million per social media post. And I think it's safe to say that these kinds of influencers are out of reach for all of us, at least for the moment. When influencer marketing became the hottest new trend in digital marketing, some people made a lot of money. And unfortunately, this idea that you can get rich quite easily from being an influencer has stuck around, even though it's no longer true. I'm sure we've all seen the how to become an influencer and turn your life around type posts. Brands needed influencer marketing to become more measurable just because so many brands have been burned by influencer marketing in the past. Earned media value, or EMV, refers to publicity gained through promotional efforts other than paid media advertising. It tries to measure the value of things like mentions, conversations, referrals or recommendations of your brand, content, and here I'm referring to user-generated content, and reviews. Earned media is uncontrolled media. Many of these things are happening, firstly, without the brand's knowledge, and of course, without people being paid for them. Unlike paid media campaigns where you can control a budget, cost per clicks, set impression or conversion rates, etc., this is not that. And because it is uncontrolled and there is actually no consistent way to calculate it, the responsibility really falls down to the brand to look at their objectives, their expected results, what each interaction or conversion is worth to them, and etc. to help them calculate this metric. There are some suggestions on how to calculate it, and if you're using an agency or certain marketing or automation management tool, then it takes some of the guesswork out for you. A recent evolution of EMV is IMV, which is influencer media value. This is a metric first introduced by an influencer marketing agency called NeoReach, but has since been used within other platforms. Among other factors, what it tries to do is represent how much a brand would have had to pay for reaching the influencer's followers using paid advertising, like PPC, social media marketing, etc. I know it might sound confusing. After all, a brand is still technically paying for it, but that classification exists for certain channels like Google Ads, Facebook Ads, etc. That is paid media. Getting this kind of data is not possible unless you are using an agency such as NeoReach or have pre-existing paid campaigns that you can compare or analyze results against. But I will walk you through this example from NeoReach. Let's say you ran an influencer campaign, spending $54,600 of your budget of $60K. This is what you paid the influencer or influencers, and it includes the cost of creative, so images, copywriting, as this is something the influencer would handle as part of their fee. Now, during this campaign, you received 12.9 million impressions and 641,900 engagements. Numbers. Struggling. Had you run this campaign through paid media channels, it would have cost $184,000, and this is excluding paying for content and creative design. Your return on investment for running an influencer campaign is therefore just over 300%, or 3 times your investment amount. Now remember that the calculation for ROI, return on investment, is net profit divided by total investment times 100. And while technically this isn't profit, as you didn't receive $184,000 in revenue, you saved 300% going with influencer marketing versus paid advertising. Looking back at impressions and engagements, this means that your CPM, which is your cost per 1,000 impressions, was $4.65, and your CPE, which is your cost per engagement, was 9 cents. Had you spent $184,000 as opposed to $54,600, which is the shown influencer media value, your CPM would have been $14.36. $1.30 and your CPE would be $3.50. That is a huge jump. So you can see there, I think that's a very clear way to see what your savings would be. The other factors that are taken into consideration when calculating IMV are the size of an influencer's reach, which I think we've covered quite a bit now, the number of people engaging with posts, segmented by the engagement type, so whether it was a like, a comment, or a share, etc. The success at directing people to landing pages, so in paid media terms, it would be the click-through rate, the CTR, the time spent on each engagement, and the segment of the target market that the influencer reaches. The truth is that just like it is difficult to measure the effectiveness of traditional marketing, some aspects of digital marketing are equally challenging. There is no consistent measure for EMV as it differs from business to business. Using an agency that has historical data and access to advanced technology does make this easier, but it's not accessible to everyone. But regardless of tech and who is managing your marketing, vanity metrics like impressions and engagements don't actually adequately address a brand's larger business objectives. And there's currently no way to track every single touch point from view to sale, and perhaps there never will be, at least for brands that can't spend millions a month. However, as a digital marketer, it's good for you to know what can and can't be done. IMV is a new metric and is currently only available to big budget brands. However, if you have historical data to work with and can see the kinds of CPCs, CPMs, and CPEs you have been paying on paid media channels, it's a great start. Then you can try and do something like the example that NeoReach gave before. The most important thing to do when looking at partnering with an influencer is to do your research. As there are so many unknowns and variables, it's a good idea to start with what we know. And what we know is that people emulate or try to copy who they look up to. We trust recommendations from people far more than we do advertising, and some people far more than others. Research has shown that influencers assist top of the funnel objectives like awareness and engagement above others. If you're going further down the funnel, then you need to consider influencer marketing very carefully and perhaps adopt another approach. It takes quite a lot of time and research to find influencers that will fit your brand and your requirements. Diving into the endlessness that is the internet can end up being frustrating. If you have the budget for an influencer marketing agency to manage this for you, then definitely interrogate at least 3 different options. But otherwise, start with your loyal customers. Find them with data. For example, people who have a high purchase frequency, or talk to your customer service team for insights. Look at people who engage on your digital channels the most. For example, on Facebook, there's a top fans section for each page, for each Facebook page. You could start here. Or subscribers who regularly engage with your newsletter. Whatever kind of touch points and channels and data that you have, use those to find these people. Search relevant hashtags, as well as your brand. Search hashtags that are relevant to your brand, so industry or niche specific terms, and see what comes out tops. Use tools like Quora and BuzzSumo to identify influencers. We looked at these channels in lesson 2 of this module. Explore the channels of the people that you find. Keep the number of followers in mind and perhaps split them into the 4 categories of influencers. Though let's be honest, I don't think any of them will be mega influencers. Get to know them, what they post, how frequently they post, how they engage with their followers, their communication style, etc. Instagram is by far the top social media channel used by influencers. This is followed by Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then all the other platforms. Engagement rate is also highest on Instagram, and it's interesting to note that there is a big difference between Instagram and Twitter when the volume of followers exceeds 100,000. Engagement rate drops across all channels overall at this point, but Instagram is on average at 1.1%, versus Twitter's 0.3%. So quite a jump. Okay, I think it's time to check that you are still with me. What does IMV stand for? Pop your answer into Morpheus. Is it A, influencer media value, or B, influencer measure valuation? It is A, influencer media value. If you chose B, or even if you chose A, remember you can go back and watch the recordings of these lessons as many times as you need to. There are many types of influencer campaigns which are good to know about, as only one or a few might fit your brand and your objectives. Firstly, there's a giveaway. You give your product or service as a prize in a giveaway, which is managed by your influencers on their channel. This is exposing your brand to their followers, and of course, everybody loves a giveaway. You can also hand over the reins of your social media channel to an influencer. He or she posts content and engages with followers, and of course tags their channel in all posts, which is expanding reach. 2 examples here. The first one, we go back there, that's an Instagram story. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the entire channel. It can just be a story from a different influencer or from influencers. And then this one here is a classic example. This actress/dancer is going to be taking over the Self magazine channel and is obviously posting about it. Affiliate partnerships. We will be talking about affiliate marketing shortly. But for now, it's a good start to know that influencer and affiliate marketing are generally closely linked. An influencer very often becomes or is also an affiliate. Paid partnerships. The example here is an influencer using and reviewing a brand's work bag. As the brand is paying the influencer for this content, it has to be specified as a paid partnership or ad. In the example here, you can see paid partnership at the top right. Not everyone has access to this tag. This is one in Instagram. But then the word ad or similar needs to be included in the ad copy. People often include it at the beginning or as a hashtag at the end of a post. Then we have product seeding. Now, this is really a strategy applied to try and get an influencer's attention and also hope that they post something about your gift of products. So that's why it's product seeding. You're sending an influencer a gift of your products or services with the hope that someone or that they will post about it online. But you shouldn't have that expectation or demand it, in return. Many will post about it, but only because they haven't been asked to. If you do this after establishing a relationship with the influencer, so sending someone your products or a membership to your service, let's say, then the chances of him or her posting something is much higher. This is another example here. A makeup brand sent this influencer a ton of goodies and she posted about it online. Brand ambassadors. This strategy is a long-term partnership with an influencer. Brand ambassadors promote your brand on their channels consistently over quite a long period of time, compared to a campaign which can last a few weeks or months. A brand ambassador embodies your ideal target audience, or is at least someone that your target audience aspires to. So you've found the perfect influencer or influencers. What is next? You need to start engaging with their channels and content as your brand. Comment on their posts, perhaps share content that resonates. It's not about saying things like, "Ooh, Susan, you'd look great in our sunnies," but rather being genuine. Give your opinion on their post. Tell him or her they look great if that's relevant to your brand. Congratulate them for their achievements and etc. Reach out directly to them as opposed to using a third party like an agency or salesperson. Influencers appreciate this far more. And the proposal that you've outlined should be personalized to each influencer you send it to. They need to see that you've done your research, that there's value and relevance in the partnership. This is just as important to the influencer as it is to the brand. Within your pitch, or at least after the initial pitch, You need to set clear objectives and KPIs. I mean, this goes without saying. It's really just a reminder. This is the case with any kind of marketing tactic. You then also need to determine payment and terms. It will differ from business to business, whether it's a flat fee, which is generally the case. If it's a longer campaign, maybe it's a retainer. It's up to you and your brand and your budget and your objectives. You might also want to include certain terms, which should be negotiable for the influencer to a certain extent. It's a bit of a protection in terms of, let's secure at least this result so that you can have payment. Be quite clear and set out those expectations from the beginning, because otherwise it just kind of leads to disappointment on one or both sides. And then you need to be professional about it and draw up and sign a contract. There are some templates out there for influencer contracts. I do have a link which I quite like. So if you would like that link, please email me on marketing@shoreacademy.com. But like with everything, there are benefits and risks to this marketing tactic, and it's wise to know them. You can reach specific demographics, in some cases more targeted than can be achieved through paid advertising. This boils down to good research. It's relationship building. You're expanding your network of people and opportunities to show value and to grow your brand. It's fantastic for brand awareness, as most of these interactions are happening online on public channels. And you don't need to worry about ad blockers. We looked at ad blockers in lesson 2 of module 2. The value of this benefit will differ depending on the target audience. If your target audience isn't tech savvy, then ad blockers would be less of a concern, for example. As I said earlier, you are placing trust in another entity to promote your brand, and there is always a risk with that. It could end up benefiting them more than you. For example, KPIs might not be met, yet if you haven't at least agreed on a minimum result, like I said before, they will still receive payment. Lack of research increases the risk of the 2 points above, as well as increasing the risk of fake influencers, people who don't actually have the following it looks like they do. Just like you can buy email lists, which I'm not saying you must do at all, please don't. You can buy social media followers as well. The communication about your brand might seem unauthentic, and this is never a good thing. Doing your homework, approaching the right people, and thinking things through clearly will greatly decrease these risks. So I asked you earlier, which of these images is of a real person? Put your answer into Morpheus if you didn't earlier. The truth is that neither of them are real people. I know this was a trick question, sorry. Or did you immediately know that neither of these images contain real people? I certainly didn't. Enter the virtual influencer, a digitally engineered influencer. This is a rising trend, and I'm very interested to see where it goes. Lil Miquela on the top left there has almost 2 million followers and didn't initially announce that she was, as her profile now says, a robot. But when she did post about it, it did nothing to sway her followers. Brands are finding these virtual influencers appealing due to young millennials and Gen Z's seeming affinity to these accounts. They also pose less risk in terms of the risks that we spoke about earlier. Everything is completely engineered. Lil Miquela, who has the most followers of all virtual influencers, has posted pics with real celebrities. So everyone's kind of getting in on this. The latest one that I saw was her with Millie Bobby Brown. It's a character, she's 11 from Stranger Things. She's also released a song on Spotify and her followers adore her. According to a report by Hype Auditor, virtual influencers have almost 3 times more engagement than real influencers. That means that followers are more engaged with virtual influencers' content. And Social Media Today said virtual influencers are unpaid, unbiased, available 24/7, and evidently very popular. So why wouldn't brands take notice? Building these models is of course very costly, but as tech progresses and it will, as we know, the costs will go down and make it more accessible to brands. We could be looking at a big part of the future of social media influencers. Okay, and with that interesting and futuristic trend behind us, we move to affiliate marketing. Let's start with what an affiliate is. An affiliate is referring to a person or organization officially attached to a larger body, and affiliate marketing is a type of performance-based marketing in which a business rewards one or more affiliates for each visitor or customer brought by the affiliate's own marketing efforts. Typically, affiliates earn commission or a percentage of each sale. So essentially, the brands themselves aren't marketing their own products, they're paying other people to. You might be asking yourself, what's the difference between affiliate and influencer marketing? I know I did. It's hard to keep up with all these digital terms. The truth is that they are very similar. A brand is trusting someone else or another entity to create promotional content on their behalf. But there are some key differences. Firstly, the cost or the payment structure. Influencers are often paid a flat fee, though that's not set in stone and the absolute rule, whereas an affiliate receives a percentage commission or share of revenue from each sale or lead or whatever the objective or affiliate program is, which we'll go into now. The objectives also differ. Affiliates are often used for new customer acquisition and to increase revenue, whereas influencers are mostly used for branding and awareness. The measurement of performance between these two is different. We've covered influencers. There's the social media metrics like engagement, etc., as well as EMV and IMV. Affiliate marketing is performance-based, so links can be tracked directly to the purchase. So there's conversion rate, cost per sale, etc., actual revenue to measure off. And then influencers are individuals, whereas affiliates can be an individual or an entire brand or website. There are 4 different parties involved in affiliate marketing. We have the consumer who purchases the product or the service. The merchant created the product or service. The affiliate is the marketer. They promote the product or the services. Coming from the side of